Welcome to the Sip and Scale podcast, where we talk about everything business, entrepreneurship, and startups. My name is Blendi Muriqi. I'm the CEO and founder of Delegate.co. Each week, you'll join us as we talk with industry experts and business owners, sharing actionable insights to drive your business forward. So grab your favorite beverage and let's sip our way to success. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Sip and Scale podcast. On this episode, I have a special guest, Steve Cummings. Steve is not only a short-term rental operator in Nashville, he also happens to be a Delegate client of mine. Actually, we've been working together for the last few months. It's been a really successful partnership. So welcome to the podcast, Steve. Now, to give you a little background on who Steve is, he's the owner of Misfit Homes, a company he started with his wife, Erin, 5 years ago with their own investment property in Nashville. The success of that property and their ability to streamline property management processes led him to open Misfit properties to clients around 3 years ago, and the business has grown ever since. They have a really innovative approach to helping their clients make design decisions that will maximize revenue for the competitive market that is Nashville. One interesting thing to note about Steve is out of all the clients that we have at Delegate, he is at the forefront of automation. He's really emphasized integrating automation tools and AI into all aspects of the business, particularly in client outreach and building these custom systems for gathering contact information to get new clients on board with Misfit Properties. Steve graduated from Georgetown University and worked as a graphic designer before earning his master's in 3D animation from the Savannah College of Art and Design. He then became a feature film animator. Haven't seen that yet from clients and guests that we've had on the podcast. And he developed tools and streamlined processes for his team. His problem-solving nature, expertise in building efficient systems now drive the success of Misfit Homes, which he manages along with their dedicated team, which includes our VAs at Delegate. So with that, welcome to the podcast, Steve. Pleasure to have you here, and we're looking forward.
Thanks, buddy. It's great to be on.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So let's talk about, I gave a little introduction about your roots, and it's not often that you see someone go from the creative space to property management, and when I think about that, I think about the roots of Brian Chesky, who started Airbnb. He was not a business operator. He was a creative in every sense of the word and a designer. So my first question is, how do you make that transition, I guess, from, being in the film space to being a property manager? And when did you realize, I could create a business out of this?
Yeah, so the jump from creative to real estate is pretty simple. My whole family's in real estate. So my dad, my brothers, all my cousins, they're all in real estate, but they're more on like the commercial side. And so it's something that they've always done, and I've always kind of been the outlier doing 3D animation, creative stuff. But I was an animator for a while, and when I was getting married, we just realized that we would have to move around a lot. Living in different places sounded pretty cool, but long term, a lot of the business was moving out of the country. So it just didn't seem that was kind of sustainable for my life long term. So, going all the way back to when I started making the switch, my wife and I flipped a house. We bought a house, we flipped it. It took a while and we had a lot of pitfalls, but it was ultimately a small success. But that gave me the real estate bug. So what I didn't put in that bio is then I went back to school and I took a short course at MIT in real estate. That's when I started getting really interested in short-term rentals. I just started working through the numbers. At that time, it was, the prices of properties versus the income was kind of insane when I was looking at the Nashville market. So it didn't take us long. We just ended up making the jump. We found a property here in Nashville. We bought it. We furnished it ourselves. We designed it ourselves. And it was just a success, like right off the bat. So
what year was this in?
This was 5 years ago. Yeah, 2019.
So back then, I'm assuming that's when really people started realizing that this is a investment vehicle, investing in short-term rentals. I'm assuming the market was a lot less competitive back then.
It was a lot less competitive. Prices in Nashville for a 4-bedroom asset were about half of what they are right now. But that is when the popularity started to peak a little, or not peak, but started to pick up, but not nearly to the extent that it did the past couple of years.
Nowadays, I know that back then, for example, you could put up a listing on Airbnb, whatever the OTA channels are, and it didn't matter whether you had amenities at the property. As long as you had a clean place to stay, you're getting booked. How has competition changed how you look at the actual product and service that you're offering?
Yeah, when we first started, we put in a game garage. We converted the garage into kind of a game room, and that wasn't very common 5 years ago. And now, I mean, fast forward, everyone's doing that. Everyone's doing everything. Everyone's has the nice rooftops, the string lights and neon signs, photo op walls. And that's all stuff that we kind of were doing when we first started, and not a lot of other people were doing it. And now everyone's doing it. So we've always strived to stand out. And so now the way I'm applying that is if I can't better the properties and add more amenities that are different, because everyone has them all and all of our properties already have them, then how else can I innovate? How else can we stand out? And that's where kind of our marketing and the automations and guest experience that we offer, that's where we're starting to really push and stand out.
In terms of the marketing, one of the things that, I've noticed that you do in relative to other players in the space is really emphasize, social media marketing, bringing people in via social media and direct bookings. How did you get that light bulb in your head? Because a lot of people, they're like, I want to get more direct bookings. I want to bring people in through the website. What prompted that light bulb in your head to say, we have to double down on direct bookings and building a brand for Misfit?
So the brand awareness and social media, all of that stems from my background working as a graphic designer. So long before animation, I knew that if I was going to build a company, that it needed to be real, or perceived as real, at least at first. And that was building a brand. So the first thing I really started making the business was making our logo and started posting on social media. And that was just me and my wife just posting on social media back 5 years ago. We weren't very good at it, but it started off slow, but we just kept going and going. And then we ultimately hired a social media manager and they helped us grow. I just knew from the start that we needed to really build a brand, because relying on the OTAs, we get a lot of business from them, and it's awesome. But, we want to capture those direct bookings as well.
Definitely. And with the direct bookings, do you have any long-term goals in how you're going to get there and actually get, because you see there are property management companies that, I've seen in different markets where they're getting 50% of their reservations via direct booking. What has been your strategy now in kind of pushing the direct bookings to Misfit so that you can build a clientele that if they have an event, let's say it's a bachelorette party, that's very big in the Nashville community, where if one person goes for the bachelorette, you want to make sure that everyone in that group knows about Misfit properties. So that way, when it comes time for them to get married, they're going to come back to you. How has your social media strategy changed to drive your direct bookings?
Yeah, so we implemented a lot of automations in our social media as well, where we have a team of real people making our posts. Delegate is helping us with that now too. But when it comes to actual automations for marketing to guests, we post a lot of promotions on our social media. And if someone comments on a post, we have automated messaging that asks them to follow us. And then once they do, then we send them a discount code with a link to our website to book. And then that puts them in the whole funnel for repeat marketing. Our website, we're coming at it from all angles. Social media is one piece, but we just launched a new AI-backed website as well. It writes high SEO blog articles monthly using AI. That's through another service called Host AI. It also publishes AI-backed Google ads. So all of that is to generate more traffic to our website.
That's awesome. So on the topic of AI, our business at Delegate.co, it's very much aligned with what your goals are. So we see that every short-term rental company out there is at least taking it seriously and utilizing it in some way, shape, or form. 5 years ago, if you had to create a compelling listing description, you would need a good copywriter to write that out. I remember, when I first started, I was writing the descriptions and trying to like look at the top performing properties in a given market and look at how they're laying out their listing description, how they lay out their photos. That has changed now where operators, at least when they're building out their listings, they're using, programs like ChatGPT to create compelling listing copy. Talk me through about on the operations side, how you guys are utilizing AI right now to streamline operations and provide guests like a higher level experience.
So many ways. So we use it to scrape local event data, and then we actually are putting those in our listings and sending it to guests for recommendations. As far as AI for operations, really for operations, it's more we're utilizing automations rather than AI so much yet. But I do have plans to add in a lot more layers of AI for ops in order to maintenance issues, things like that. Yeah. But right now it's automations for cleaning for our inspectors and then systems as well. We've always been about manageable growth, and I knew that from the very beginning that if I were to handle every aspect myself or if things were tracked manually, that it would just be impossible and the management of our properties would degrade pretty quick. Yeah. So I just look to automate as much as possible. And so that's basically with our messaging to our team, to our automated messaging, to our, automated cleaning schedules and maintenance tickets that are created. Those are all through automations.
I think that, one thing that I've seen in the past is people, they try and automate as much of their business as possible, and now try and integrate different AI tools into their operation. But at the end of the day, the people on the ground, your housekeeping, your maintenance, that's like the lifeline of your business. Talk me through exactly how you go about sourcing great talent on the ground, because I think a lot of property managers, and maybe they're early in their career or they just started a property management company, they have a lot of trouble in finding good people and keeping them. So I'd love to know what your process was in building out a great maintenance team, a great housekeeping team, because at the end of the day, you can have all these automations, you can have, a great tech stack, but if you don't have a great team on the ground, it can cause havoc on your views and your brand.
I mean, we can talk about automations and AI all day, and it's been awesome for the business, but for the local ops, it's all about the people. And the way we've done it for the different facets of the business that I can't handle, because I'm not a cleaning company, I'm not a maintenance company, we're our partnerships. And so we just have really strong partnerships that we've gained over time. And two of those, our cleaning service is the Neat service here in Nashville, and they've been awesome. And then our maintenance team is actually a maintenance company called Mend, and they're here and in Scottsdale, and they've been amazing too, where we can automate our maintenance tickets, where our team, if they receive a maintenance issue from a guest, whether it's, in the middle of the night, we can create a ticket, mark it urgent, and someone will be out there within the hour. And so that's been awesome. And the way I found them, the cleaning service was just through people I knew here, just networking. So really like just talking to other PMs. The property manager that first managed our property when we first got started. We did have a manager when we first got started because I didn't know how to do it yet. And then we ended up taking over management later just because we wanted to get into that business. He actually gave us the reference for his cleaners, and we've been using them ever since. It's been awesome.
How many people would do that?
Yeah, he's a nice guy. So really great. And it's a good partnership. They help us out a lot. They also will call out kind of any maintenance issues, and then our team can make those tickets. When it came down to actually hiring my team, that actual team that is a part of our company, learning how to do that took a lot of trial and error. That was one of the more difficult parts, I would say, of growing a business, was finding the right talent that you want to work for your company, whether it's, full-time or part-time. It was a difficult process finding the right people. And I'd say I got really lucky with a Craigslist ad. That's how I found our property caretaker that we currently have, Donald, who's been awesome. And then one of our best employees, Abby, I found through just networking also. Actually, it was our cleaners. And I had the job post out on all these sites. I was interviewing people. A lot of people were great, but hadn't really worked in the short-term rental space. And I mentioned it I just kind of threw it out there to my whole network that I was looking for this role for our operations manager. And Abby was recommended to me, saying that she was currently leaving the place that she was at and might be interested in the opportunity. So that's how that came about. And she's been awesome. So really leveraging your local network.
Yeah.
And if you don't have one yet, because you're new to the area, try to grow it. I mean, that's how I've grown my company too, is the marketing really gets your name out where people know you and have heard you, even if you haven't met them yet. But then you got to go out and you got to meet them.
Yeah, I'm sure that also with a competitive market like Nashville, as you grow and as your brand grows, there's awareness that this is an established business, that, you know, you might have competitor. And in this environment, there's a lot of competitors that they may not be running their business as well, but they have really good talent. And that's a good opportunity to take advantage of great talent that's out there. I give the example of, I was browsing through LinkedIn, and Vacasa, they had a round of layoffs maybe a few months ago. And as soon as that happened, a lot of the folks that were working in specific markets, they went out there and like, hey, I'm open for work. And just a flood of inquiries came and comments saying, hey, I'd love to talk to you. Hey, DM me.
Yeah.
There's opportunities at my company. So that's one of the nice things about being in a competitive environment. If you're really trying to level up the talent that you have, especially in the short-term rental space, where it's, you know, like a huge market like Nashville, there's going to be good talent out there as you grow.
Yeah, you just got to put in the work to find it, which is difficult when you're starting your business in property management. You're kind of pulled in all different directions, but putting that time, it's worth it.
And I guess the moral of the story is don't sleep on Craigslist.
Yeah. I mean, all those channels, but yeah, it was surprising. Craigslist and Indeed, kind of all those different ones brought in a lot of different types of talent.
Definitely. You've taken an interesting approach to the management. So there are property management companies that decide to take every aspect of their business in-house. So when it comes to their cleaners, maintenance, you took a different approach of finding like specific vendors. What are the pros and cons that you've seen in actually using, you know, third-party vendors versus building the team in-house?
The pros are a huge part of the piece that's off my plate, and I don't have to manage that to an extent. We're in daily communication with the heads of operations at our cleaning team, but I don't have to manage every single individual cleaner, handle payroll, handle managing how well each individual cleaner is cleaning. Instead, we give our reports directly to the ops managers there, and they handle it, and we continue to improve moving forward. The downside is I'm not able to manage each individual cleaner. You know, there's always the cleans that aren't as great, but I wouldn't put that on my cleaning team. That's just, you know, we improve over time with all this stuff.
And the other thing is, as you grow your business, the incentive for the vendor to up their game also increases. You know, if you were a small property manager, what I've seen, and this is inevitable if you're like a cleaning company or a maintenance company, the attention that you get is you're going to get less attention than if you're a large player, because it makes up a large portion of their business. In that sense, as you grow, it actually becomes easier to outsource to these third parties. In terms of shifting to client acquisition, we're in a market right now where there are a lot of unhappy homeowners with their property management company, either because the quality of the service is diminished or because the property management company, maybe the way they're structured is just, it's not conducive to really good hospitality. Having really large property management companies that sometimes are nationwide means that it's a lot less high touch. What has been your sales proposition to homeowners to bring them into Misfit Properties?
Yeah, I mean, it really starts with kind of the backbone, which is the brand that we've built. So once we pique the interest of a homeowner, if they click on our website and they look at our reviews, they look at our reviews on Google or on Airbnb, they'll see right off the bat that our clients are happy and our guests are happy. We have a 5-star rating on Google with over 70 reviews, and we have 4.92 on Airbnb with, I don't even know how many thousands of reviews. So that right there sets up the call in a nice way. And I'm able to just kind of talk to them, and I ask them about why they contacted me, what made them reach back out, and actually respond to my email. The emails that go out, they talk about different aspects of the business and what we're doing to make our owners' lives easier, or it's kind of a marketing message like no startup fees, which is nice, but really the whole goal is to get them on the phone and talk to them. And then once we do, it goes pretty well because went and clicked on our website and looked at our properties. They're usually going into it kind of excited.
I'm sure those are the easier sales to make as opposed to doing outbound when as you build a brand, they come to you, right? So it's a lot easier. You had mentioned that, you guys just brought on 5 new properties. Were those inbound or where they came to you, or was it a mix?
It's a mix. It's funny. So talking about networking, one of them, I was actually just at 2 properties that we were just launching, and I was kind of doing a final inspection, and I was leaving and going to my car, and I actually bumped into the owner of a neighboring unit who was kind of getting their unit ready. And we just started talking, and it turned out they followed us on social media already. So they knew Misfit Homes. They already had management, but that was kind of the way they explained it. It was just kind of easy. They already had that relationship. The way they said it was they stayed at their Airbnb when they were here and then just decided, all right, it's easy. It's kind of out of convenience. Yeah, so they already followed us on social media and really liked our brand. And they had already furnished their home basically with that in mind. And their whole property was very cool, a lot of really cool, unique features. They closed off the entire garage door and turned it into a speakeasy room.
So they use you as inspiration.
Yeah,
well, it made your job easier from a creative standpoint, I guess, because you're like, all right,
yeah.
Now we just got to manage it.
Exactly. It was perfect. So they ended up signing on later that month, and that's been awesome too. So yeah, networking, just you see someone at the property that it's one of those communities where there's multiple owners, just don't be afraid to say hi. But for the rest, there were through the outbound marketing, there's been some from realtor relationships. Realtors are a huge kind of client lead.
Do you think that there's a decrease? Because if you go back in time 2 or 3 years ago, there was this frenzy of out-of-state buyers that were looking to get into the short-term rental space. So picking up clients left and right was a lot easier. Now, have you seen a shift in today's market, at least in Nashville, where it's not as easy to get new clients because people aren't buying the properties if you look at the environment right now, money is very expensive. And so if you're buying a property to make it into a short-term rental, it may not be worth the money for you to actually rent it out. Have you seen that decrease in terms of the market?
So the majority of my growth the past 2 years was through realtor referrals, and were through deals being made. So out-of-state clients, local clients, just, anyone investing in short-term rentals, it was really hot. Everything was going off market the past 2 years and the prices really popped. Yeah, so we got a lot of inbound leads and new clients from realtors, but now it's shifted where I think a lot of people are holding on to their assets that have appreciated, but it's not the best market to sell into. A lot of people are sitting on some great properties, and not a lot is changing hands. There's a lot more on the market, but things aren't going off market. So there's a lot of properties that are now sitting right now just because it's not a great time to sell. So there's not as many inbound leads from realtors nearly as much as there have been the past 2 years. So I've had to get creative. There's a lot of properties. It's a really tough market. Nashville is now highly saturated, very competitive, and all honesty, demand is down this year. So it's a tough market as a property manager. And from a marketing standpoint for our properties, we have to think creatively and really figure out how to stand out in that way. But then also for client leads, I've really had to start working towards a whole new system and a whole new way of doing it. So it's not passive. I'm making it so it's passive, but we're actively reaching out.
I'm sure that you've had to have different conversations with clients in terms of expectations. I know, at our company at Delegate, we often have inbound leads from homeowners that they're trying to get into the short-term rental space and they want to self-manage, but they need a guest communication coverage, which they bring us on for. And when they bring us on, because we've been in this industry for quite a long time, so we have an understanding of how well properties perform based on past experience. And it's been a little bit of a reality check for a lot of these operators because they might purchase a property thinking that it's going to gross, let's say $12,000 a month. But that $12,000 a month was, in the last 2 years, And so it's been like, even before we bring them on as a client, we let them know, hey, this is what the market is right now. Just to set expectations, you're probably not going to be bringing in 2020 numbers on this property because there's so much competition and less demand. Have you had to have those conversations with owners that maybe they made like crap ton of money 2 or 3 years ago and now they're starting to see demand go down?
Yeah, I've had to have that conversation with owners, and it's not a fun conversation, but you kind of get a mixed bag of responses. But, there's some that really understand it and where we are as a country in terms of inflation, the overall economy. Saturation's one thing, but demand is down for a reason. And the reason is things are expensive. It's hard for a lot of people to justify a big group trip right now. So that just brings it down. And just like real estate, tourism, cyclical, I don't think it's here to last. Saturation, but when demand picks back up, I think that'll change the story where we're at right now. But when it comes to taking on new owners or having those conversations with my clients, I'm always very honest. One service that we've always provided for new clients, which also helps us get new clients, I provide underwriting for these properties. So I'll provide pro formas for clients that are looking to invest. And if they're torn between a few properties, I'll do a pro forma, and it's free because the whole idea is, they'll sign with us. And I'm always very conservative with my numbers. So I try to set expectations right off the bat. Even in the past 2 years when we were getting far exceeding my expectations of what we could be earning for our owners, still I would underwrite conservatively to show kind of what I expect. The whole idea is, one, to manage expectations, but then two, I'd rather knock it out of the park and do better.
Under promise,
over deliver.
Yeah,
exactly.
How has across the country and the world, I've been reading about regulation changes. I see what's happened in a lot of large cities. New York, Barcelona just announced that I think in 2029, they're suspending all short-term rental permits for all of Barcelona because of the housing shortage. How has regulation in the Nashville market affected your business, for better or for worse?
Yeah, they've regulated a lot of it. All of it. They've narrowed it down to properties that have to be commercially zoned now. It used to be, back when I first started, they allowed residential multifamily, which is zone RM, like RM20, RM40. And they moved away from that. So now the permits restrict any new residential multifamily units from being able to obtain a short-term rental permit. And that's basically just a push to get it that's for non-owner occupied, by the way, to get the non-owner occupied short-term rentals out of just normal residential neighborhoods for new ones. That's actually helped the business, because if you want saturation to slow down, you need to regulate it. You need to slow down the growth. Yeah. And while I want the industry to grow, the amount of short-term rentals that are coming to Nashville, that needs to slow. So I think the new zoning for commercial, that's going to slow it to an extent. And it has. Back when I first started, I was seeing a new build like once a week come on the market or being marketed for pre-sale. And I'm not seeing that now. Right now, I'm seeing a lot of projects finishing up from the past few years and delivering, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of new builds coming on. So right now it's grown because I think 2021, 2022 to last year, there were a lot of builders getting in because prices were skyrocketing and trying to capitalize on that. But we're in a different market now, and new builds have really slowed down. In the future, the next few years, I don't see a whole lot more new builds like it's been in the past.
Is the city done with it, like topped out on further regulation?
I don't think they're done. There hasn't been anything really substantially new that I've heard of recently, but I wouldn't say they're ever done. But I don't think they're ever going to get rid of it. Tourism is a huge part of Nashville's economy, and short-term rentals are a big piece of that. So I don't think they're going to ever regulate it to the point that we can't operate, but I don't think they're done.
The thinking is that if these properties are zoned for a commercial use, then, unless they do something with the zoning, those properties, they're going to be used for what they're meant for. And that's, a business. I don't necessarily see that going anywhere. The thing is, the value of those properties, what I've noticed is, like, in a regulatory environment, the value of those properties, if you go back in time where you can rent out, any property or any house as a short-term rental, the valuation on that property was based on like a long-term income. And so now in an environment where you were capped in the number of licenses that get approved by the city, the value of that property goes through the roof because there's a limited number of those properties in like the prime Nashville area.
Yeah, and that's what we saw when they eliminated the RM20 zoning. That coupled with the overall demand of short-term rental investment in Nashville, just really, it started going up. As soon as that limit hit, I started seeing prices climb that year. And then it just kind of kept going. If they limited the amount per year, I know not everyone would like to hear that, but that would slow it down and that would increase the properties prices pretty significantly as well.
Is there any sort of coalition within Nashville that like advocates for property managers and, homeowners to have the right, or property owners to have the right to rent?
Yeah, there is NASTRA. It's NASTRA, and I think they're a .org. Yeah, nastra.org.
Yeah.
We're actually listed on their site as a preferred vendor as well.
Beautiful. That's awesome. We've been working with you for the last few months. I don't know if it's going on a year now. And as the CEO and founder of Delegate, I give a lot of emphasis to business owners being able to like push aside the like nitty-gritty work that goes into property management on a daily basis to focus on strategic initiatives. How have you evolved in how you look at delegation and building out a team to really allow you to focus on building the business?
Yeah, so that's something that I always kind of focused on from the beginning, is trying to figure out what pieces of the business I can hand off so I can focus my attention on growing the company, growing our clients, and providing an awesome experience for our guests. The first part I focused on was the operations, and that was growing our local team, our partnerships, because that's a huge piece of the puzzle. And at the time, we weren't as many properties, so I could handle the guest communication. But in order to handle that, I made sure that I streamlined and automated as much of the guest communication as possible. Communicate with the guests with personally was actual questions. So whether it's an inquiry with an actual question about a discount or a part of the property that they wanted to know about, and this was before AI, so there's no way to kind of implement responses to those types of questions. Yeah, then when we got to this point where we're now at 43 properties in Nashville, I realized we really needed a team. We had me and Abby kind of working the messages. I had AI built in, but it was still very new. So I kind of had it as a cool off, like it doesn't really respond unless we don't respond right away. And then I had the automated message, which is just like the check-in instructions, things that aren't responses. They're just the information guests need to know. But then, we realized we really needed a team. So that's where Delegate came in. And I think I found Delegate on social media.
No, I think we reached
or you reached out to me.
Yeah, we reached out to you because we realized that there were certain clients within that were using Guesty, and not bad mouthing Guesty because it's a fantastic software, but we have clients that they need a higher level of coverage, not just a call center that can answer just like basic questions and that have a more intimate relationship with the property managers. We realized that Delegate might be of a higher value to a property management like yours. So we reached out. It ended up working really well. On your end, we utilized Guesty, and we've even went a step further and started incorporating an AI stack, which honestly, it's also helped our team a lot because it allows, I like to talk about delegation in this business and use the analogy of logistics. Like in logistics, you have what's called last mile shipping, where 80-90% of shipping, it's very straightforward, but it's that like last 10% get the package to your doorstep that's the most complicated. And so we love working with companies like Misfit because they're forward thinking and they can utilize these AI tools and allow our team to focus on edge cases and escalations, which I don't see AI completely taking over anytime soon, because there's situations. I give the example, if you walk into your short-term rental and you go into the bathroom and there's a cleaning issue and you're upset, or the kitchen or whatever, the AC is not working, you're going to want to talk to a human being and actually talk to people on the ground. So there's a really big coordination aspect to it, and it's been a good union between utilizing these automations and AI and human capital.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we've always, is that last mile shipping. just that was where kind of Misfit always tried to put our focus on when it came to guest experience. We could automate as much as possible, but if there's a guest issue, in order for it to not escalate, you need to handle it like right away. Especially if it's a bunch of small little things, getting in there and handling it and going that extra mile to make them happy. I think that's how we're able to maintain the reviews that we have. And that's small things, but they add up. So it's like a bathroom wasn't clean, but they cleaned the rest of the house. We'll reach out to our cleaners. And now it's Delegate. We'll reach out to our cleaners directly, something AI can't do right now. And I don't know if they will, where they communicate the issues, send the pictures, and ask if they can come back out. And our cleaners will come back out. Same with maintenance. And then same with other things, like if something's broken, if there's a missing TV remote, then our team can order one from Instacart and it'll be there within the hour. And guests really appreciate that. It's a level of service that I don't think a lot of short-term rentals provide, but with all of the different kind of services and apps and delivery apps that you can utilize these days, it makes it simpler for the team to really go that extra mile and make sure that guests are happy.
Yeah, definitely. There's a book that I think it's like the golden standard business case study on the Ritz-Carlton. And, Ritz-Carlton is known as like the highest level of accommodation out there for people going to a hotel. And it's interesting that like per guest that goes to a Ritz-Carlton, they have like X number of employees allotted to that guest. Mm-hmm. And the reason they're so successful is not because of their automations, even though, they have been successful in automating a lot of the processes and requests for guests, but it's that human touch that at the end of the day, people, they want to be able to say, hey, I spoke to this person, they were fantastic, and they were very accommodating. I don't think that kind of theme is going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, and with AI as it is right now, anyway, usually guests can kind of tell, if there's really a problem and they get an AI response to that problem, it's usually not met well.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance that needs to be put into responses.
Yeah, definitely. And knowing the history of the conversation and addressing it, it takes that human touch for sure when it comes to that extra mile and actually helping a guest with an issue.
Yeah. With every property manager I speak to, I ask them, what are your goals and aspirations of continuing to grow the brand? Do you see yourself really just continuing to create a stronghold in the Nashville market? Do you have plans of going outside the Nashville market and going into new markets?
Yeah, I want to keep growing in Nashville. We're going to keep marketing Nashville to new clients, trying to take on as many top tier properties as we can. But yeah, definitely want to grow Misfit to other markets. I haven't targeted any seriously yet, but it's been a goal of mine for a while now, but can't do it until I feel like I can actually leave and go open a new market and this market is running. It's also tough to give up that control because I know that I would have my attention pulled in different directions. So right now I need Nashville to be really performing well. I mean, it is, but to the point where I feel like I can put my attention in starting another territory.
Yeah, definitely. Talking a little bit more about not necessarily the business side of your life, but the personal side. How has starting your own business and managing it on a daily basis, how has it affected your personal life on a day-to-day basis? And what steps have you taken to really balance the 24/7 business that is short-term rentals with, life, your wife, your kids? I ask this because, as a business owner myself, having been in this industry, it can consume every aspect of your life. And if you don't balance that, your personal life ends up being consumed by your professional.
Yeah, well, that's why with the growth, I was always very hyper-focused on manageable growth, streamlining operations, automations, and hiring the right people and making the right partnerships. Because when I first started out and doing it myself, any time of day, there were times where kind of in the middle of the night, I had to run to a property because of an emergency. And I knew that wasn't sustainable. So get those partnerships for emergency maintenance, hire a great team, and also the 24/7 messaging with Delegate. That allows me to turn off on the weekends and really, as it comes to guest communication, and really, be with my family and have that time. So really, I only have to get involved if there's a real issue, if there's something that needs my attention, then I don't have to look at every guest message. My team reaches out to me directly on Slack. So that's been awesome. That's allowed me to kind of take a breath on the weekends and, enjoy that. But on the other side of it, something you don't hear a lot is with that growth, in the beginning, you're so focused on the guest communication, and that's the communication that you're always dealing with and need 24/7 communication for. What they don't tell you is the client side. So a lot of these investors, it's not their job. They have their own job and they focus on their investments when they have time off. So when I'm off, sometimes at dinner, I'll get texts or calls. On the weekends, I'll get texts and calls and emails randomly. And I've just, I think as a business owner, you just also have to learn how to set boundaries. And I'm always that person that feels like I need to respond. And maybe that's why I was so good at this in the beginning with guests. Like I just would always respond right away. But yeah, now it's kind of setting up, Monday, I'll get to this. You have my attention, but right now it's the weekend, unless it's a real emergency. And that's also where now my headspace is in creating more automations on the client side, not just for client lead marketing, but also for current client management. And that's creating a better, right now we have our owners portal through Guesty, and it's good for what it is. It's very basic. It shows them kind of their projected performance, but it doesn't show our expenses. They have to wait. They get that at the end of the month in their reporting. But one of the next things on my list is kind of a more in-depth owners portal where they can raise tickets, maybe even open up a live chat, and also just see their historical reports through that whole portal and other things about their property. Maybe even, set minimum prices for their properties. Then we can talk about it, like setting that up as a flag. There's so many facets of the business that can pull your attention away. And it's just kind of figuring out solutions, how to either automate your time away or build the right partnerships.
It's a game of whack-a-mole where you hit one and you're like, okay, I got this off of the plate. I've been able to delegate this. Now I have to worry about, sales and maintaining client relationships, because you can offer a fantastic product, but if you're not available for your clients, they're not going to be happy. In my personal experience, I've had to experience the client side of the business as well, where I've been able to take my eyes off the operations of all the clients, because as you grow, you don't have the bandwidth to pay attention to every single message or every single initiative that a client wants to bring on board. One of the key hires that I made was a customer success manager. I looked at how large companies that scale very quickly, how they've been able to grow in a short period of time, and they've compartmentalized every single aspect of the business. And one of the most important is the client relations. So having someone that is just on call at least during the week, someone that can touch base with the client during the week, it allows me to take a step back and look at the higher level strategic decisions we need to make as a company in order to continue to grow. So I foresee you, even on the sales side, eventually as you grow the company, having someone that's dedicated to the sales and having someone that's dedicated to owner relations.
That's definitely in the pipeline. Kind of the next idea for hires is one or two more ops people as we grow to help Abby out, but then also, with client management, it's kind of a big part of it.
Well, I appreciate you getting on the podcast. For those of you that are, maybe you own a home, you own a property in Nashville, and you're interested in learning more about Misfit Homes, Steve, where can people find you and connect with you?
Check us out at misfithomes.com. If they want more information about our property management, there's a section for that where you can just fill out a form, and that goes right to me. And then also my email is steve@misfithomes.com.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for coming onto the pod, and thank you for everyone that viewed this. I think we're on episode 5 or 6 now. It's been a good run so far, and I'm really happy to have clients like Steve on. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.
Thanks, Blendi. Thanks for having me.